Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Jonesin 4 Show. Today, you are in for a treat. Let me ask you this question. Do you eat? Well, I would hope you do. Otherwise, it'd be really sad. Maybe you're a breatharian, you just breathe air. But hopefully you eat food. And I bet you that food is delicious and you love it. But when it comes to living our lives to the max, sometimes it can hold us back, right? We can add weight on, it can seem to have control over us. And it's time for us to break control with that food, right? It's time for us to take control over its power. So we have power over it. And today we have a special guest coming in telling us and sharing strategies with us to help you do just that, to help you be happy, to be healthy, and to be stronger over food. Let me welcome my special friend and amazing entrepreneur, health fitness guru, Kelly Flagg, to join us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Spencer, for having me here. This is my favorite thing in the whole world to talk about. Because I think so many people struggle with it and so many people struggle in silence.
Mhm.
You know, we don't often talk about our relationships with food unless we are either told by a medical professional that we have to, and or B, for some reason we are not happy with our appearance. Like, it's very uncommon for people to just open up a conversation about the hold that food has over us. And so I love any opportunity I have to speak to the world about it so that they know that, one, they're not alone, two, I see you, I hear you, and three, I can help you.
I think it's a huge discussion to have. I mean, we hear diets. People talk about diets so many times, right? The
Yeah.
Atkins diet, the keto diet, and even just different types of ones out there. And people aren't afraid to talk about diets or necessarily jumping on a diet. But what I've noticed is people are afraid to talk that they struggle with food. They're willing to do a diet, but they struggle to say, I struggle with emotional eating. I struggle with just being able to say no, unless they're in an accountability group, support group, or something like that, where they feel comfortable, but they have to build that comfort because generally we don't do it. So
Yeah.
how can we get control over it? How can we get support? And I guess I should ask really beforehand, what is your experience? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
I
Oh
got
my
so
goodness.
excited I wanted to jump
So
in.
my experience is really interesting, Spencer, because I actually come from my education and background taught me what you were just talking about, which was that that people were going to come to me to lose weight. I am my background is in sports medicine. I have a degree in sports medicine and nutrition for athletes. And my early career, straight out of college, I was a weight loss coach. That was what I did. I was a personal trainer and a weight loss coach. And so people came to me for weight loss and we talked about calories versus calories in versus calories out. And if you want to lose weight, you put down the fork and you get on the treadmill. And you guys, that message, like, for me now, it makes me cringe that was the message, because it's so much more complicated than that, right? Like, food, we have relationships and beliefs around food. We were raised in a certain, just like you were talking about earlier, Spencer, when you and I were talking about positivity. You're either raised in a positive environment or a negative environment, or you hear different things from people. The same is true with food, that you are raised in a food environment, based on culture, based on food availability, sometimes based on finances. And then as adults, we're expected to maintain this level of health in some way, or we want to maintain health, but we don't always have the tools. And so then we go look for tools, and we find what you were just talking about. We find aisles and aisles and aisles and aisles of nutrition and diet books, which, even as a professional, sometimes is confusing and overwhelming to me. How would the average person ever figure out what they're supposed to eat and how much they're supposed to eat? How? And I think one of the challenges is that often, because it's so complicated, we just do nothing.
Right.
And then we do nothing until we end up in the presence of a medical professional who, while they have had, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of schooling on how to deal with acute issues, they've had usually one or two classes on nutrition. that are not going to help you with what you're looking for. And so that's where I come in, is really helping people with, one, sustainable lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Those are my three words when it comes to food. I do not teach a diet. Will you lose weight? If you need to, you will. If you're living in a body that is larger than where it should be comfortably be, by making sustainable lifestyle changes, you will in fact lose weight. Is this a diet? No. I want to teach people to change their relationship with food, to change the way they look at food, to change the way they think about food. And when we are able to make that change, saying no to things and saying yes to things is more automatic, because your relationship with them is different.
I love that just shift of mindset, as opposed to, oh, this is going to be a quick fix. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get that six pack from this diet. It's this lifestyle change. It's something that I need to continue, but it's not arduous. It's not hard necessarily. It's like, okay, well, I know this doesn't serve me. I know that this doesn't help. I'm making this lifestyle change, and then my body will respond. It responds to the food and fuel you get, because your body's a machine. It wants to run as tight as possible and as best as possible. So you got to make sure you're giving it all the right things to do that in the right amounts, just like your car, right?
Yeah, and it's great that it's so funny. You obviously have heard me talk before, but I always talk about my car. I always talk about my car. I I drive a little European sports car, and my car is so smart that when you put the wrong gas in it, which I have done, and that's why I'm telling you this story, when you put the wrong gas in it, I didn't realize this. This is not, I'm just going to say this. I can't believe I didn't realize this, but I had driven American cars for many, many years. I bought this awesome little car, and it didn't occur to me that you couldn't put regular fuel in it, that you had to put high octane fuel in this car, that this is what it was meant for, that the fuel in Europe is different than the fuel in the US, blah, blah, blah. I fill up my tank, I rip off down the highway, and my car's has this special light where it shuts down the engine power so that it won't hurt itself.
Smart of it.
So you can't drive too fast, you can't accelerate too fast. It will get you where you're going. You're not stranded, but it's basically telling you you've put something in your car that shouldn't be there. Please find a gas station, give it an octane boost, and give it the right kind of gas, and then it'll run again. So the reason I always tell this story is because our bodies do that. Our bodies have a reduced engine power light. And we often ignore it. And that reduced engine power light is things like increased rest. If you're a Fitbit person or you're a technology person, if you see a steadily increasing resting heart rate, you notice over time that your resting heart rate's getting higher and higher. That means something's not right with your body. You may notice that you have more aches and pains than you're used to. You may notice you're sleeping worse than you're used to. You may notice you have trouble concentrating. You may notice you have new acne, like all of these things. You may notice your hair falling out, like you may be gaining weight. I could give you a list of a billion things that are our body's way of saying, you are giving me the wrong fuel. Please give me the right fuel.
So our bodies have that light that tells us, hold on, you're not giving me the stuff I need to be at my best, through these different ways. But I'm thinking about it, and people, maybe they've been heavy since they were a teenager, right? Or they've been dealing with acne since a teenager, and that hasn't changed. Now they're in their 30s or 40s
right.
or 50s. So, but I just live with it. This is what I live with. This is me. I have aches and pains. I have acne. I have whatever. But that's not normal. I know that sense you don't have to live with that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I am. And just because you've lived with it your whole life doesn't mean that's how it has to be. I have a super powerful story from early on in my adult life. I had been coaching nutrition in the way that I previously mentioned before, the calories in, calories out, helping people lose weight, helping people exercise. And somebody very close to me in my life was experiencing what they thought might be the beginning stages of depression. And interestingly enough, by accident, this person found themselves with a psychologist who said, I refuse to prescribe medication until you change what you're putting in your body.
Yes, we need more people like that.
And okay, so now I'm the professional and I'm sitting here with this book in my hands, right? And this was a long time ago. So now when we talk about Dr. Mark Hyman, he's kind of famous. He's been on TV a bunch. Most people recognize the name, because he talks about food all the time. But at that time, he was kind of new. He was kind of edgy. People were like, oh, he's that guy from like Western Massachusetts that does that like healthy food thing. But basically, the book was the Ultra Mind Diet. And me, being a food nerd, dug in and I read every single page of that book. I still have that book today, and it has more sticky notes in it than Staples. Like, I marked every page, everything. And honestly, what I learned from it was just how important the right fuel is for your body versus just the amount of fuel. So, right, we talk about weight loss when we talk about food a lot, because that's what often signifies people to change their lifestyle. But the reality is there's a lot of other reasons to modify what you're putting in your body that have nothing to do with weight loss and everything to do with vitality and how you live your life and how much energy you have and what your mindset is. There are so many other reasons. And so my passion became translating that information into plain English for the regular person, because I did realize it took me a long time to really understand it. And I'm an educated professional. I still feel like it's hard for the average person to understand. Can you just give me some simple steps that are actionable and that I can have success with?
Well, that's what we all need, right? When we're learning something new, we need those actionable steps. When you're learning to ride a bike, you need those couple beginner steps so you can jump on and have success with it. And you might fall down, but you come back on and you keep going. The same thing goes with lifestyle changes. You go for it and hopefully you stay on right off the bat, but you might fall off the wagon, but then you come right back on and you keep going. It's this journey that we're on. So let me, you prepped it so well. Let me ask you, what steps can we do? How do I know what's the right fuel for me?
Well, so there are some things that are inherently not helpful to us. and especially as it pertains to mental health, right? I think we're in a time right now where mental health is really, really important, more so than ever before. If you look at the statistics of what's happening in our country, we're here in the US, or across the world. I have a lot of folks who are in lockdown still in the UK. Hopefully that's changing for them. But, just the mental health aspect of this alone is so important. But step number one is recognizing what the things are that are part of your daily diet that may, and I'm going to say may because there's like 5 to 7 pretty common culprits, but not all of these things are bad for all people, right? And that's part of why there's so many diet books out there, because certain things work for certain people. But the main things as it pertains to mental health, excessive caffeine intake. I'm not saying you can't have a cup of coffee. I know, Spencer, I know you love your coffee. I love my coffee. But excessive caffeine intake, where we are relying on caffeine to fuel our body instead of nutrients and food, is a very unhealthy situation. Excessive sugar intake. Sugar is a big one because sugar is physically addictive to our brain. And so you were talking earlier about people's and habits and why can't I do this? Some of it is because with sugar, it is actually a physical addiction. Mm-hmm. It is just like trying to quit smoking. It is just like trying to quit drugs, essentially.
Well, I remember seeing research that shows it's on the same level, I think, even as cocaine, if I remember correctly.
It is.
Quit. It's that addictive, and companies put it in. Now, you could agree or disagree that companies are putting it in there intentionally to get you addicted. That's a different debate.
We won't have that conversation today.
We're going to avoid that conversation. You can look at all yourself, be philosophical, and people who listen and watch the Jonesin 4 show, they know I love getting philosophical about it, but let's avoid that for the moment.
Hey, I'm really sorry to butt in like this, but I know you're gonna love this, and I'm too excited to not share it with you right now. And that is Spencer's Energy Hub. Yeah, that's right, Spencer's Energy Hub. It is a community. It's the Jonesin 4 community. You're listening to the Jonesin 4 show or watching it, right? And now there's a community designed for you to have success. We want you to live your life to the max, and we can help you. We can help you do that through the tips, techniques, and strategies we share in this show, but also within this energy hub. So what is it? Well, it is a membership crew that's a family, right? We are a community who are there to support you, be in your corner when times get tough and when times are awesome. But there's more. You get weekly trainings. You get help, strategies, and ways to help you actually implement what you learn to have success so you can live your life to the max. Oh, and there's monthly interviews with experts and masters in their field sharing their knowledge with all of you so you can really take it, implement it, and have success in your life and go up that mountain faster and better than you could have before. You're here now, which is awesome. Now, take it to the next level and join us at Spencer's Energy Hub. Go there and find out what it all entails and all that and sign up to join. Just go to spencersenergyhub.com or spencermjones.com. You can find it there and click on it and make sure you check it out and join us in the hub. Can't wait to see you inside.
So it's addictive. So what else can we do? We know sugar's bad, excess caffeine is not good. What else?
Yeah. So for some people, and this is, I'm gonna go controversial here,
Yes.
but for a lot of people, gluten is not a happy thing, and not just in a gastrointestinal way, right? There's some professionals that will say unless you have celiac disease, gluten is fine, but the reality is that it isn't, and that it does for many people create digestive issues that over the long term create mental health issues. And I, for one, have seen this happen. I saw this happen in my own child. This is a personal story. I was suddenly gluten intolerant while I was pregnant. Never occurred to me that meant my baby was going to be gluten intolerant when he was born. I actually had a physical rash on my body while I was pregnant, had not changed anything I was eating from prior to while I was pregnant. And of course, all the medical professionals, oh, it's just a hormonal thing. And I went to a nutrition, like an herbal nutritionist, and she said, I think you're having a sensitivity to gluten. And so that had never occurred to me before. Again, thinking calories in versus calories out. I didn't learn what I learned about food until 2 years after this, but the rash went away. I stopped eating gluten and the rash went away. I mean, this was the serious, most itchy. It was like I had rolled in poison ivy, which is, any women on here who have ever been pregnant, or any man who's ever been near a pregnant woman, it's hard enough without poison ivy all over your body. Even if you love it, it's still hard. So anyway, for me, that was like oh, wow, like this thing I'm putting in my body is creating this reaction, and I can change this. And where I'm going with this story is that when my son I totally forgot about that happening. I went through this whole experience with reading the book, learning the information, helping my loved one get healthy and happy, using food, and still feeding my kid food. Like, I mean, just never even occurred to me. And when he was about 6 years old, he was struggling really badly in school. I was getting reports that he was acting out behaviorally, and I couldn't fathom why that was happening, and he didn't remember it. This is how powerful it was. When I asked him about it, 6-year-olds lie. I'm just going to say that straight up when they think they're in trouble. So for literally months, I thought he was lying to me. I thought when the teacher told me what he did and he told me he didn't, that he was lying.
Right.
And then I was teaching, of all things, I was teaching a group of adults about gluten sensitivity in your brain. And I said the words reactivity, brain fog, lack of memory. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gluten poisoning my child.
At least we can laugh about it now. But I imagine at the time you were just like, oh my God, I can't.
I was like, oh My God. And so immediately we changed his diet at 6 years old. And there is nothing more pure than a child's description of what is happening to themselves when they don't have any preconceived notions about what they should or shouldn't be eating. But I remember a couple months in, I thought, I wonder how he's managing this when he's not with me, right? Like he goes to daycare, I pack his lunch, but like, does he eat goldfish after school by accident? Like,
Right.
because that's what kids do. He came home one day and he said to me, Mom, two things. I said, yeah. He said, one, I need you to pack me more snacks. And I said, okay, why, buddy? And he said, well, because the only snacks they have at school make me crazy.
Hmm.
And he was referring to the little cartons of goldfish.
Right.
The only snacks they have at school make me crazy. Those were his words of a 6-year-old. And I was like, wow, okay. And the second thing he said was, Mom, there are lots of people that need you to help them.
Oh.
And I thought, those two things, he's now 11, he's been gluten-free since he was 6 years old. And I think as adults, we're like resistant to the idea that the things we've been eating our whole lives might be causing some of our challenges. We're so resistant to the idea that maybe we've been choosing to do something that's not healthy for us. And so anyway, that was a really long tangent to talk about the fact that some people are sensitive to gluten and have no idea.
I love this story. I mean, it just makes it that much more personal, obviously for you, but to all of us as well, just to relate it. And my wife is the same way, not necessarily with the brain fog, but it affects her. It affects her energy levels. When she has gluten, it's not just upsetting her stomach, and she doesn't have celiac, but she's sensitive to it to some degree because her stomach gets upset, but then also she's very lethargic when she has a lot of gluten. So we've had to cut it back. And, we think like, oh, we'll have a treat and do this. And, we regret it the next day.
Right away, right?
Right? Like, and okay, so gluten could be one of those big culprits, right? That it sucks. It sucks to think that, okay, the food we've been eating for years is poisoning us in a way, right? It is poisoning you. So we have to clean ourselves of that. So we got caffeine, we have sugars, we have gluten. Are these things that we just cut out? Like all of a sudden we just go, nope, we're done? Or how do we get through this?
Yeah. Well, so it's different for different people. I personally prefer, I think sometimes when you're ready,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's a funny thing to say, but most of my nutrition relationships with clients start with a tearful phone call at 8 or 9 o'clock at night saying, I am done. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I need help. Like that, honestly, is where it usually starts. I would love to be able to reach people before they get there, but the truth is people have to be ready. People have to be ready to make a change. And I prefer, and I think people are most successful when we can walk through removal of all of these things at once for a short period of time. And I always tell people to think about it not as a forever, right? Not as a forever, but as a investigation, right? If we want to know what is working and not working, we have to first remove those things and give our body a chance. So typically when we're feeling like crap, I love analogies. So I just want everyone who's listening to know you're stuck with analogies until I'm done talking. But I always talk about it as though when you're in that place, when you're struggling emotionally or with energy or with weight gain, your body, your metabolism, your body's ability to manage food is sort of like a pile of wet logs, right? Like it's not going to burn really the way it's supposed to. And you can try to exercise and light a fire if you want to, right? We can light that fire and exercise, but it's still kind of not going to do what you're asking it to do. By removing all of these things that could be creating problems for you, what it does is it gives your fire kindling, flame, and oxygen. It gives your body a chance to start to burn the way it should. Then we have the choice, right? If you think about what happens if you have a pile of wet logs and you pile more wet logs on it, you just get a bigger pile of wet logs.
Right? That fire's not going.
Not going. But if you take a period of time to right your body and therefore light your fire,
Mhm.
you then can every once in a while throw a wet log on it, and it's not that big of a deal. Unless you have a severe sensitivity, in most cases, if your body is working the way it should and you go eat a cupcake, it's not going to be the end of the world. You are not going to go into a deep depression over one cupcake if most of the time you are feeding your body whole, fresh, real, local food,
Right.
and then you go buy a cupcake. It's not the end of the world. But if you're already in the hole,
Right.
that cupcake can change your life in a not so great way. And so I like to help people through an initial elimination period and then reintroduce food to test things. Now, I say I like to because that does not work for every client. For folks who get super easily overwhelmed, sometimes we do have to shift that approach. But most of the time, that will work for people if they have, I often in this case refer to myself as the Sherpa. Like, I'm not the guy at the bottom yelling at you through the phone. I'm the guy right next to you carrying the backpack for you. Like, that is my job, is to walk side by side. I know what's going to happen. I know what you're going to experience it, when you're going to experience it, and I'm going to be right there with you to help you. And so, you know, it's really so much more attainable than we think. So much more attainable than we think.
So many people think it's this hard goal, this hard summit to reach, to keep with the Sherpa analogy. They think it's just really hard, and it is tricky, and there's going to be struggles along the way. But when you have a trainer, a coach, a supporter, a Sherpa there to support you, and I love that analogy, by the way. I'm a big, like, I love hiking, so it makes
sense. Yeah, I know. I got you.
So, you're going to have success, right? You're going to have that accountability, that person there to help you as things are happening in your life. So as you're going through this, I mean, obviously get Kelly's help, work with her, and let her help you be that Sherpa for you, but also surround yourself with that accountability group, whether it's your family or friends, people that are checking in on you just to help you have that extra support along the way. What can people do to, well, we'll see how they can get a hold of you, but what can people do to really have success with this? So they have a guide, they have their Sherpa, and they have accountability. Are those like the key things for them to really have success that you see?
I think the guide is so important, just because you need somebody with knowledge. You need somebody that can say that new diet that came out is just noise. That thing that everybody else is doing is just noise. Like, we need to get, I know you talk a lot, Spencer, about meditation. Like, it's almost like we need to go internal for this sometimes, and we need to shut out, everybody's got an opinion about food. Everybody's got an opinion about what works and what doesn't. And like, I was in a runners group the other day, and I love this group of people, but like, somebody threw up, like, I'm trying to lose 15 pounds and I'm eating X number of calories, and literally 27,000 uneducated answers popped up. And I just, like, I had to walk away, because it was like, one, know what you're doing, have a plan. And that is why the guide is so important. That if you told me you were going to, we'll go back to the Sherpa analogy. If you told me you were going to climb Everest and you did not have a map and you did not have a plan and you did not have a guide, I'm going to tell you straight up, you are not going to be successful. And I think for so many people, this is exactly the same thing, that you're making a choice to make a lifestyle change, and you need to have that map, you need to have a guide, and you need to have a plan. The other thing is, like, if you wanted to do something today, because I'm all about today, right? Why not make a change today?
Actionable steps right away.
I am going to give you the easiest action step that will that will immediately make a change in your health, which is, starting today, every time you eat, I want you to fill your plate half full of vegetables, and I want you to eat them first. That's it. Half of that plate full of vegetables, and eat them first.
Love that stuff.
You do that. Like, I'm not even telling you not to eat the Oreos or not to eat the sugar or not to do the things. I'm not even going there yet. I'm just saying, if you're not even at that place, it's totally fine. but you go buy yourself some vegetables, things you like. This is the other thing. If you don't like kale, I am never going to tell you to eat kale because that is just stupid. You should eat things that you like to eat. And even people who tell me they hate vegetables have at least a few that they will eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every meal, get some vegetables in your body. Get some fresh, whole foods in your body. And whenever possible, organic. I'm a big fan of organic, and even more whenever possible, local. Same with your proteins. If you just focus on vegetables and local, fresh, organic protein, you are going to make a lifestyle change. You could forget everything I said up until right now. Please don't, but you could. And you will feel better than you felt before.
I 100% agree with you. Filling up your plate half with veggies, that's what I do. I try making sure my plate is half filled with veggies, fresh veggies, usually roasted because that's how I prefer them.
Yeah.
So good. So good. And then, the folks that listen to this regular, they know that, I promote healthy, whole foods, right? Natural foods, organic when you can get organic. And as you said, same with your proteins. Exactly. It's not about eliminating, all fat or all whatever, carbs.
No.
And no. Don't worry about it. Get whole natural foods, and you'll be able to have sustainable success with it. And then we can hone it in. And then as guides, as Sherpas, they can help hone it in for you specifically so you can have success. I help people with positivity and making their goals for the future so they can live their life to the max and help design it. Well, I'm getting my fitness nutrition certification. I understand the concepts of it, but I don't have the knowledge and all the wealth of knowledge really that you have. So folks, I can be more than happy to connect with you with Kelly, but just connect with her on her own. She's on Facebook, she's all over, and she will be more than happy to be your Sherpa on your journey up this mountain. So Kelly, how can people find more about you and connect?
So honestly, they can just connect with me directly on Facebook. I'm sure you'll probably tag me when you share this. I am not one of those people who is only Facebook friends with the people that live in my neighborhood. I like to meet people all over the world. So if you need something, want something, have questions, if there's something I can do to help you, please reach out and connect. I will accept your friend request. Do me one favor, and that is send me a message with the friend request. So friend request, say, hey, I saw you on Spencer's show, and I will accept that request. I also have a private Facebook group that's called Health is Wealth. And we can share the link for that. I can give you that link, Spencer. But that is where I share information and just provide tons and tons and tons of free value on how you can go about this journey.
I love it. Send me that link. We'll put it in the show notes, and same with a link to your Facebook profile so they could join and friend request you and then connect, and you can help them out on their journey. And folks, you can find all the show notes on our website, spencermjones.com. Go there, go to the Jonesin 4 show, find this episode, and you'll get all the show notes and the links and all that good stuff there. Kelly, this has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Spencer.
I appreciate you and everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Let's go after that food, go after the health. Let your body be that revving engine fueled with the right fuel so that you can be living your life to the max. If you like this episode, let us know. Take a screenshot of it right now and share it out on social media. Tag Kelly in it, tag me in it. Let us know your biggest takeaway. And as always, like and subscribe. And until next time, folks, we will catch you all later.